When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ledlow, and enjoy today's episode.
And Australia is about the size of the US of A, isn't it? Australia about the same size of the US?
Look, I wouldn't want to, come on a US podcast and say we're bigger than the States, but no, mate, I genuinely don't know the comparison, but
seems that way when you look at it on the map.
Yeah. When you look at it on the map, it's a pretty big place, mate. Look, it is as wild as people say. Like literally, my first job in the territory response group was a croc job, and it was in the Mary River in the Northern Territory, and the Mary River is a really lovely place, right? Like it's a beautiful sort of vast landscape with escarpment coming down to the water, and then you've got beautiful fishing for barramundi, heaps of wildlife, all that sort of stuff. But part of the wildlife is also the crocodile population, and unfortunately, we had a gentleman that had come up from down south, and he was at the back of his houseboat. You can rent a houseboat on the river there and just have a nice little holiday. He's on the back of the houseboat and he goes in with a bucket of water to get some water to rinse off some fish that he's got. And as he goes in, there's a big salty. And I'm not talking like your gators down in Florida. I'm talking like 5 meter man eater. So, like, what is it? 3 foot to a meter. So, yeah, I don't know. Massive crocodile. I'm not a maths guy. Massive crocodile. Big black bastard. Like they go black when they are really old from all the moss and all the shit on them, and literally just comes up, grabs this dude by the chest and the head, so head down the gullet, swims upstream for a couple of K with old mate in his mouth. So legs dangling out, old mate's in the mouth getting swum upstream. And we went out there. That was my first job in a PTG, and we had to go out there and kill all the crocodiles within like a certain square radius until we find the body. And we do that with the park rangers, and then we slit them all up down the guts, and we find the bits and pieces from the blokes that have been consumed by crocs. So we'd get probably 5 or 6 croc jobs a year where they're they're taking people off the banks or fishermen or whatever it is. But needless to say, that's inclusive of like all the sieges and the the hostage stuff that we do. But that was a pretty wild part of my career.
Wow. Crocodile Dundee, Ben.
Well, Crocodile Dundee, I'll tell you, here's a little story for you, Mark. I'll tell you a little story about Crocodile Dundee. That guy is based on a fella by the name of Rodney Ansell. And Rodney Ansell was a croc wrangler in the Northern Territory. And he started off just, croc eggs, wrangling cattle, all that sort of stuff, been a bit of a wild man, got on the gear, so the methamphetamine, went off the rails, then ended up getting in a shootout with police. And very sadly, may rest in peace, Glenn Hewitson was killed on duty, in the line of service by Rodney Ansell. And it was a massive shootout between himself, Jamie O'Brien, and the Territory Response Group, where Crocodile Dundee, the guy who Crocodile Dundee is modelled on, was killed in a gunfight with the police. So that my old team leader was, mate. It's a wild old place up there.
Wow.
So Croc Dundee, who, so many Australians are like, oh, yeah, cool, was actually a cop killer. He was a piece of shit.
Well, I mean, Hollywood glamorized him.
Yeah, well, they've got a habit of that, don't they, Mark?
That's a fact. Wow, that's a fact. Dang, yeah, Hollywood. And all my friends have lost so many homes in LA with the LA fires. And I did hear through a friend of mine that ATF was deployed. Arson, more than likely,
really
was the cause of that. Yeah, I talked to a few buddies of mine in law enforcement down there. I go, yep, ATF was deployed because it's pretty. There's a suspicion, a high probability that there's some arsonists out there when those winds hit. So I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. I
think the sad part, you see that too, don't you, with those big natural bushfires. We get bushfires over here in Australia as well. Not like those, fires in California. They're just terrifying.
Those Santa Ana winds, those are winds is blowing. As I was driving from Vegas up to Northern California in the desert, when those winds are just hitting, it felt like a hurricane. It was 80 miles an hour. I was like, the wind was going against me at the high desert as I was crossing the desert from Vegas. Yeah, it gets ugly, but those winds were no joke. And then all it takes is just one little spark. And I feel sorry for those people that had everything lost. Just like places I used to work at. When in my early 30s, I was working on those hills, protecting people in their homes, sitting and doing residential security, royal families coming in, staying 3 and 4 months, the holidays and Christmas and New Year's up in Malibu or up in Mulholland Drive doing an RST for a royal family or whoever it was. I spent most of my my 30s up there working. Crazy. And things get changed instantly.
Yeah, look, I'll tell you from back home, because we've got experience with bushfire. Where my wife's family's from, only recently with the last round of bushfires, that her whole hometown burnt down basically, and um, our hearts just go out for everyone that's suffering the loss and the tragedy, and just the fact that you're coming back to that absolutely destroyed, ash-filled, part of your life that doesn't exist anymore. It's heartbreaking, mate, to see it on such a large scale. And a lot of love from Australia going over your way, and I hope you guys can recover.
Yeah, watching those fires and the highlight reels on the news, it kind of reminded me of my days as a hotshot firefighter when I'm a hotshot team in the Department of Forestry in Oregon, and ran through from a couple of fires when I was on a hotshot crew, then as an engine crewman for a bit. And those things are no joke. They create their own weather systems and all kinds of things. They're dangerous. They're no joke at all.
Yeah. But, I mean, look, mate, being a copper, I love to pay out on firemen, but everyone waves at a cop with one finger, and everyone waves at a fireman with 5 fingers, and that's the sort of joke between our brotherhood and the cadre. But when the job's on and the hose fairies are out there and they're fighting those fires, I take my hat off to them. It's a you don't know who your enemy is when it's just a fire, right? Like, I mean, you and I were blessed. If it's a bad guy that's coming at our principal, we know what to do. But if it's a fire, you can't negotiate with that. There's no conversation. There's no pre-attack indicators. It's just wild.
Oxygen. Once the oxygen is gone, you're dead. That's how people think you get burned to death, but no, actually the oxygen kills you first. You suffocate.
Yeah, wow.
And then you get fried. That's how you die in a fire typically. But yeah, that's wild. But yeah, what a conversation. Taking some turns. Yeah.
So what's on the cards for you for the year, mate? Where are you guys going? What's Ledlow doing?
We're working on got paperwork in for Arkansas, working on Florida, and we have a partnership in California, but we're working on getting our own flag stuff in California eventually. But we have a good qualified manager that we work under for legality reasons. But it's just been our busiest January ever. It's like, what the heck is going on? I don't even think the faucet's turned on completely yet here in the States. I think it's going to probably take. Everybody's got to go through their forecasts, their budgets, first quarter, January. Everybody's trying to figure out what's going to happen. And what's going to be based on, the resistance to Trump, and there's a lot of people that don't agree with what he does and his ideology and the way he's governed. And so I think you're going to see a lot of protests. And keep in mind, also, those millions of people across the border, we don't know where they're from. We don't know where they're at. We don't know what they're capable of, but we know they're dangerous. And so you got to think about, those isolated lone wolves running around, isolated carousels. We just don't know. There's too many unknowns right now. So it's going to be.
Well, look, mate, look at what happened over Christmas and New Year's for you guys. You had the Tesla car, or the Tesla truck bombing, and there's another one that exploded over New Year's as well. Like
been busy.
That was a bit of a shock to me, to be honest. I know you've got, you're like any nation, you've got, your criminal elements and the underworld and all that sort of stuff. That exists everywhere, right? But when you see a VBID deployed in a domestic setting in America, it sort of sparks some concern, because you guys you've suffered some attacks and terrorist incidents, and it's created, gosh, the GWAT came as a result of some of the most horrible things that ever happened in America, and it's a worry seeing those VBIDs get deployed, because it shows that there's some sort of organized element or some sort of coordinated effort, I suppose.
It looks that way.
What happens next? Yeah, what happens next? Like, I mean, that domestic setting for you guys, the security, especially, I can imagine the stuff that's going on in California with the fires. You've got a lot of just domestic security around, like, asset protection, infrastructure, that sort of stuff. But yeah, I guess with Trump, you do start to see the radicalism ramp up, and people with fixated opinions start to rear their ugly heads.
Yeah, I think it'll start festering here. Give it a few months for it to start setting in, for his legislation to go in effect, and the administration to start going in full throttle, and then you'll start seeing the cause and effect from it. And yeah, I mean, our team, we're nationwide partnerships, and we got agents everywhere. We're licensed now in Texas. So we have a lot of people reaching out in Texas wanting support. And we're
Yep.
building those rosters, and we're doing a lot of site security seems to be bumping up a lot. Uniformed and plain clothes. That's what we're getting requests for now from different clients. And then
Yep.
doing a lot of RST, 24/7 RSTs right now. But yeah, I think we got like
Okay.
half a dozen projects going on throughout the country. And so we're getting requests for that.
Yeah.
It's just building the name, building that brand. It's hard to do because, there's so many people that can be called, so many different companies that can be called. If you build the brand correctly, and I think it's people see me on LinkedIn doing all this stuff on LinkedIn, but I really don't get that much business off of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I thought.
I don't think
Sorry, mate,
social
I
media.
saw an interesting statistic
Yeah.
in regards to social media just recently. It was talking about like your organic reach with social media. It may only account for like 3 to 4% of your actual generated revenue, but
I believe that.
the way I sort of see it is, anything you're putting out there is more lead nurture rather than lead generation. You're letting people see who you are. You're letting people understand they potentially may want to trust you. They may want to work with you, or maybe they don't. And I think when I first started getting into the LinkedIn space, one of the things that I was pretty particular on was, well, maybe I'm helping you decide you don't want to work with us as well. Or maybe I'm helping you come to terms with the fact that you do need to choose another company to work with because the way we do business, integrity, discretion, and trust, maybe you're really flashy. Maybe you need to be forward facing. Maybe you need to be, seen on the camera. So maybe we're the wrong people to partner with. Maybe you don't want to partner with discrete, operators with, EP backgrounds and dig pro backgrounds. So I sort of see it as like it's a great place to let people see who you are and what you stand for, as long as you can be authentically truthful in what you're providing. That's the way I sort of see the benefit of using things like LinkedIn and YouTube and whatever platform you're on. Yeah.
Well, I think we saw the power of podcasting when Trump got on Joe Rogan's show. I really believe Joe Rogan helped Trump win the election. And then when it happened, when he actually won, I'm like, whoa. And it dawned on me the power of podcasting, telling your story. Yeah. People are going to listen to a podcast while they're driving before they're going to read a book on what you published.
Yeah, with time and attention, right? How much time do people have to sit down and read a book these days? The podcast is a powerful thing.
And social media has made everybody's attention span under 8 seconds. Like Byron Rogers told me, the attention span is now with social media under like 3 seconds to get a bait, a click, a hitch, a hook. Like, wow.
Wow.
But digital media is the answer. I mean, think about all the newscasters that used to be on, let's say, all the network shows. You notice everybody's launching a podcast that were on those network shows, like Tucker Carlson, like Megyn Kelly, big names, and then CNN folks as well. All those folks launching podcasts.
Doing the same thing.
And so that is the power, how independent media is exploding right now.
Yep.
And I'm seeing a lot of people, good for them, launching their own shows and telling their story. But, for me, I had to get comfortable doing this. This took, probably a good year. Because if you're a natural introvert trying to do this, it's a fight, mental fight, as you know, Ben. You've been doing it too for a while. It's like, just got to get over yourself and say, hey, relax. It's okay. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to bite you. And now I go to conferences and go, hey, I really love this story, that story. I'm like, I don't even remember the show. I don't remember who the conversation was because you do so many. I think we're up to 300 now, going to 5th year.
Wow.
5 years into this thing. But it's truly the power of digital storytelling is what it's become. And it's been quite a major ride, as you see. How's your show going? You're doing pretty good on yours.
Yeah, mate. Obviously the Christmas period sort of massive. We got pumped over Christmas, so Tango and I we barely ever get the chance to even see each other for 2 or 3 months over that sort of November through to February break. Mhm. So we sort of ships in the night, but we're looking to get it back on track in the year. But look, it's like I said, for us, it's about people seeing who we are and whether or not they want to work with us. Realistically, for the Wheels Up podcast that we do, myself and Troy Clayton, we are a long way from a lot of people that we want to work with. And so if there's
Mm.
any way for them to get the chance to meet us prior to potentially working with them or together, then that's the whole idea behind that podcast is we want to give people an opportunity to just see that, maybe they do trust us a little bit. Maybe we do sound the same as what they want to hear working together, that we practice the same things, we believe in the same things. And at the same time, hopefully they can make a decision about whether or not they even want to get in touch. Like you said, mate, you're a 12-month pipeline when you're working with new people. They know who you are before they even pick up the phone to talk to you usually.
Yeah, they do their due diligence. They're looking you up at LinkedIn. They're checking that you out on different publications. And then,
Yep.
the podcast they hear, they want to hear how you sound and, who you are. And then they're going to do their due diligence on you until they make a decision as to how it works out. Yeah, does Wheels Up, are they a sponsor of the podcast? Is that how that works?
Oh, the Wheels Up Whiskey?
Yeah, Wheels Up Whiskey. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah. So the Wheels Up Whiskey is right behind the podcast with Wheels Up. Obviously, the critical part of any operation is the end of it, because it's when we get to have a cigar and a drink and hang out with our mates and let the shades down a bit. But yeah, Wheels Up Whiskey is right behind the Wheels Up podcast. Wheels Up, it's been running for a couple of years. I only just joined Troy in hosting it this last year in 2024. Prior to that, he was just flying solo. But yeah, so ironically, Wheels Up Whiskey, mate. You saying you're opening up shop in Texas and you guys are getting a bit of work out of there. We we are very very proud to be bringing Wheels Up Whiskey out of Bryan, Texas. With
Oh,
the
okay.
Yeah. It's a beautiful bourbon whiskey that's made there, and very proud because it's a lovely drop. And we've managed to get that around to a few people at different conferences, and I think I was talking to Caleb maybe about potentially sponsoring like a whiskey and cigar night with the IPSB guys next year. And I think we'll probably look at trying to do some sort of mixer event with a couple other conferences that we're exhibiting as well. Hopefully do another shindig at Texas night with Chuck, and just get it out there because the idea behind Wheels Up Whiskey is that it gives people in this industry who are, we're part of an incredible fraternity in
Mm-hmm.
what we do, and it gives us an opportunity to get together, share some really shit war stories,
Mm-hmm.
to talk about Crocs eating blokes, or whatever it is, whatever terrible war story you're going to tell the same, if not worse, the last time you told it to the same people. Do it with a nice whiskey in hand and a cigar that goes with it. So yeah, we're really really proud to have them behind us, and just looking to get it out there in the industry, to be honest, mate.
Now, the audience listening, they're trying to probably figure out what does Wheels Up Whiskey mean. And so in our
Yeah.
industry, executive protection, when we say the client is wheels up in their jet or commercial private, that means the detail is complete. It's a win. It's over. Now it's time to celebrate. Go to the
Yes,
down to the
sir.
restaurant, tavern, bar, wherever, have a drink. Maybe it's whiskey, maybe it's Coke, whatever you prefer, and have a cigar. That is kind of the celebration, job well done of the brotherhood, sisterhood of the industry. And that's kind of what folks in the executive protection do to have a celebration. So that's where Wheels Up came, is the term Wheels Up means. So for those listening going, what does Wheels Up mean?
Yes, especially when I'm saying it, right? Because the poor bugger's back home for you. You're probably trying to figure out with me accent. What? Whiz up? What is whiz up? What's this Aussie talking about? What's a whiz up?
So
Yeah,
that's
no,
the
so
celebration thing. That's the moment when the principal gets in a jet, takes off. You're waiting probably a half hour on the ground, make sure it's clear, and they're gone. And then it's like, okay, take a deep breath. Detail's over. I mean, we did hundreds of those. Working in the hills of LA. They go to the Signature Airport in LAX and sit there at the airport and watch the big old 747 private jet go up in the air from whatever Middle Eastern country they were from. I'm like, whoa, those jets were twice, 3 times the size of Air Force One. I'm like, whoa, it just like, wow, there's some serious money out there, but I'm sure you guys see all that kind of thing. So I know what we're anticipating is a busy year, and just trying to get the business set in a situation where we can handle it, creating the foundation, bringing on Nate Sanders. He was an Army Intel guy in the Army infantry guy as well. So he came on board to help us on the weekends because, Mark Bees has been just slammed, just the business. Once people find out about you, it's just people start calling. I'm like, I could call Mark Bees and you're my GSOC guy now, virtual GSOC guy. But I think where do you think it is, Ben, when you hit that critical mass, when people start knowing who you are, when the clients start figuring you out? Is that 5 years into it, 10 years into it, or just can it magically just happen overnight?
Look, I think everyone's an overnight success after 10 years.
After 10 years or 20.
I reckon after 10 or 15 years of just banging your head against a brick wall, you become an overnight success. We were incorporated in 2010, right? Like, I mean, Panoptic's been around for a long time doing what we're doing, and we have just been slugging away. Troy Clayton, take my hat off to the bloke. He is the definition of indefatigable. That guy has no fatigue. He is just relentless with his pursuit of excellence in what we do. So, in my mind, I think anyone that's looking at this industry and they're looking at, how we're going to, when's the marker? When's it going to happen? I reckon nothing shy of 5 to 10 years, and you've just got to be putting in the work, just rep after rep after rep of perfect execution, because it's a 0.1% margin of failure. You're competing with, and I've seen some CVs and resumes come across my desk of genuine war heroes. Like, you are competing with the best in the business at what they've practiced as a trade craft. It's hard work, right? Like, I mean, but I wouldn't change it for the world. The experiences that I've had, the opportunities that I've been able to enjoy, the people that I've got to meet, the things that I've got to do. Like, I am literally just some kid from the bush in the most remote outback part of Australia that has traveled all over the world, worked with royalty from different families, world leaders, protected, the people that are in the top 2% of the wealthiest families in the world. Sure, I practiced in my own time with incredible amounts of time and attention and discipline to get a skill set that other people probably won't ever get. But I am incredibly grateful for the opportunities that I've had from this industry, and I think it is just one of the best places to work. Like you said, mate, you came from corporate America, and you stepped into EP. You'd already given service. You'd already been of service, both in the civilian capacity and in the defense of your nation, and yet you've still come back to this industry. And there's so many of us that leave .gov employment, whether it's law enforcement or military or whatever it is, to come into this industry because we love it, and we love the doors that it opens for us. I think for guys that are looking to get into this industry, that are looking to get started, one of the key things is the network, is spend the time networking, get online, build a LinkedIn profile, do a search for people in the industry, and just reach out to them. Most of them are blokes like you and me. Like, we met at a conference, right? We're having a great conversation, but we only met because we had the gumption to go and have a conversation with each other. And it's no different online. Like, I'll field 4 or 5 phone calls a week from cops looking to leave a police force in Australia, and they just want to know. They just want to know what's going on in the industry because they're so protected from the corporate world and the private security world because they're in that law enforcement space. So I think reach out to people, connect with them, network, do the courses. Because you are going to be competing with some fantastic operators out there. If you're in a space where you're looking to get into the industry, go and enroll in a course. Go and do like Ronin SA with the Ronin guys down there, or Trojan, or whoever it is that you're going to choose to go with, or PFC in Las Vegas. Holy dooly, what a bunch of legends they are! Like, I mean, there's a shout out. Go and touch base with those guys.
Well, here's what I'm hearing, Ben, from a lot of younger generation. They think those schools are a waste of money, and they think it's a waste of time. And
Yeah.
I don't know why, but they think it's starting to get in. They don't understand the value of investing in themselves. I don't know why that is, but that's the young generation process.
Wow.
Can you
It's a shame.
advise them of why it's a good investment?
Sure, mate. It's about language. And if I'm looking at someone to recruit them into Panoptic Solutions, whether it's for an RST or a driver role or an EP shoulder guy role, whatever it might be,
Mm-hmm.
if I can't see that they can speak the same language as me because they've got the same training, then I'm not going to look at them any further than that. If you're not if you're not aware of the fact that the people that are reviewing these resumes are the guys that have gone and done the courses, like I didn't just do a barrier entry for the police. I did a barrier entry for a tactical group. I did a barrier entry for a dig pro. I went and did, the highest level of qualification and training in Australia in the government space for dignitary protection. Like I'm the one that's going to be looking at the CVs, and if I see someone that's just gone and done maybe a guard card or a security license, or maybe they've just done their 4 years of service, their return of service, but they haven't gone and done dignitary protection, or they haven't gone and done and invested in a Ronin SA Trojan PFC course, and they're saying to me, yeah, I'm running and gunning, I know how to use an M4, I understand risk and safety, and I know what cover and concealment is. I'm like, yeah, cool. So does everyone else. But you're not carrying any decorated medals on your chest. Maybe you are. I don't know. You're not bringing anything to this equation that I can't find somewhere else from someone better. So if you hold on to who you may have been once upon a time, and you don't continue to invest in your own training and development, whether it's learning another language, learning how to do cyber, learning how to do surveillance or counter surveillance, or learning how to do the tradecraft that we practice in so many different facets, then genuinely, you're not going to make it past the first gateway of a recruitment. And I think you are absolutely selling yourself short.
Well said. Yeah, I would agree. I just see a lack of drive, a lack of hope, or a lack of work ethic. I mean, a lot of the younger generation just want things handed to them. Like, you got to go earn it. Before Facebook, LinkedIn existed, you showed up to work.
Yep.
That was your interview.
Yep.
If they liked you, they actually had to come back. I mean, where do you see the industry going? What is your thoughts on what you're hearing? What's the shifts? What I hear, there's a lot of shifting, a lot of reorganization going on, a lot of shifting in the business industry. What are you guys hearing?
Well, look, I mean, from across the pond, outside of the US perspective, we're seeing a lot more privatization in the space of security, and what used to be like that sort of lower tier law enforcement responsibilities. Around Australia, you're starting to see a lot more security companies stepping into that enforcement space, whether it's corrections or social order and antisocial behavior. I think dramatically what we're seeing is that, like you just said, people aren't prepared to do the work, and therefore the quality of candidates aren't there, and so your law enforcement departments are suffering. I can easily say that in the dignitary protection space in Australia, which is very .gov oriented, there is more and more demand for dig pro operators in our law enforcement space, and there is not a supply capacity to keep up with demand, and so more and more is being outsourced. We're having foreign dignitaries coming across to Australia that are seeking private security. I think, most recently with the inauguration of the US president, you saw something similar. You've got the Secret Service, but you've also got private security elements that are being brought in to provide him that protection. So that is what we're seeing, or I'm specifically seeing in the industry. We're getting requests from clients that are that wouldn't necessarily have used a dig pro or EP program before, and they're looking at ramping up their services, from whether it's a response from this CEO execution in New York, to now having secure ground transport and a discrete shoulder man, to a full residential or a full commercial protection program. So the not aptitude, the appetite for real security is ramping up, because I think previously, maybe for the last sort of 5 years, it's been a bit more token approach, but there's definitely, with the last couple of events over the last few months, things have really turned on.